I want you to turn this page, and I want you to jot down anything that you heard over the last couple of days, last day and a half, that you think might be worth considering doing or implementing when you get back to your market. And I always break this up by, there are things that are just for you, that you've talked to someone, you heard something throughout the presentations, that you think, man, if I did this one little thing, things could get better for me. I'm a father of 4, so I always look at life through the lens of a family. What did I hear that might have an impact on my family, or what small habit could I adopt that could propel my family forward? Obviously business. I hope you've heard some business things and career things that are going to help. And then community as well. I think that, yesterday someone said to me last night that, I need to start talking to people outside of my bubble a little more often. And they like the idea of like getting on a monthly call, 1 hour a month with 5 or 6 people, that sort of thing. Someone else said to me yesterday that they said, hey, you mentioned you teach at colleges and universities and that your staff used to do that. How do you do that? And I said, you put together a 1-page curriculum and you shop it around. You say you want to share your experience with students and you want to give them a chance to talk and so on and so forth. So that, it's good for you and it's good for them. I don't think there's enough of that. I don't think there's enough practical exposure at our college systems. So I want to give you guys just a few minutes. Ali's going to put on a nice quiet song here for us. And we're just going to take 3 or 4 minutes just to jot down in those boxes. Just think about the conversations you've had and the things that you've seen. The page looks like this. It says Day 1 Insights. And we'll take one song, one great Ali song, and then we'll come back and get things kicked off. All right, everybody got something down? We're going to do this really quick, rapid fire, not a long story, just the bullet point. I want you to, at your table, so stay right where you are, just tell the people at your table one thing that you're already thinking about implementing when you get back. All right, so just start at one end, go around real quick. You've got 2 minutes. Go ahead and share at your table one idea. All right, everyone got a good idea so far? We're going to have a lot more today. I'll get you to kill that music, Ali. Okay, guys, I want to jump into it. We only have about 25 minutes this morning before we've got Avi and Brian to come up and share their wisdom with us and give us a peek into the future of AI and hospitality. I want to take a few minutes and just do a quick debrief of last night in hospitality. And let me be clear up front. There's not a bashing of the businesses that we visited. Like, as hospitality professionals, we went to a few hospitality businesses last night, and I think it's a good opportunity to say, hey, what did we see? I'm not interested in the food and beverage side of it. You guys have your own opinion. I think that some places could do a lot better. I'm not even really interested in the atmosphere side of it. I want to just focus for a second purely on the hospitality aspect that you experienced here last night or during your time here in town. What did you see? What did you feel? What are the opportunities? Yeah.
I think it's crazy that it takes a half hour to win someone over. And something that maybe that's trying to take a half hour. If they could cut that first half hour out.
Right.
Our summer last night at
McGarvey's.
She was cold initially.
Right.
And by the end, she was just like, what can I do for you guys?
Yeah.
I was the same person from the beginning to the end. What changed with her?
Right.
I would love that. If she did that from the beginning, we may have never left. And
Yeah.
the food would have tasted better.
Right. So the opposite of that would be, what would you have her do?
Just hit it. Just leave with that.
Instant rapport, right? That's your job. Right.
When a group of 20 people walks in, they somehow have a connection. Find that connection, you just get into it.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's a great point. I had a chat with somebody last night about, authenticity in the industry. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want people to be authentic. I don't want my server to be authentic. I want my server to be attentive, professional. I want my server to run a playbook and a script. If her authentic self is, it takes me a while to warm up to people. I don't give a fuck. I want you to warm up to me real quick. Pretend you like me. Let's get engaged. Let's get into something. Yeah. I don't like guys with hats. That's my authentic self. Beards turn me off. I don't care. I don't care. You know what I mean? So let's, mustache. Yeah, everyone loves a good mustache. Yeah. You know that, obviously. You know that. If you could grow one, you'd have, you know it. You know it. What else did we see last night? What other opportunities? Dan?
Told us his name, asked us if we were out of
engaged enough, they let us have our own conversations, will stop by, talk to us, check on us right away. Offered us, hey, we got a late night menu, you guys interested in possibly getting anything? So yeah.
Okay. So that is very rare for this town. In fact, very rare in general that anyone asks, are you from the area? In running restaurants for years, anybody knew part of our induction program was the person that was responsible for your induction on that shift. Customer would come to the door. We'd consider 3 questions. We'd ask them 3 questions. And we wouldn't have to because we'd ask this question so many times. They know what we want to know from the person that we're inducting. First off was rate their energy on a scale of 1 to 10. Why do we want to do that? Why is that our business? Why are we asking a brand new person to rate the energy of 4 people that just walked up to the door? You want to match it, right? People that come in from a funeral don't want to be greeted by a clown. People that come in from fucking celebrating the biggest promotion of their life don't want to have, hey guys, how are you tonight? You want to match their energy and work to bring them 2 levels up. They come in at 6, we want to send them off an 8. Yeah. Second question, we say, where do you think they're from? How would you know where someone's from looking across the room? Or as you get closer, hearing them? How do you know where someone's from?
Shirts, accents, team sports hats.
Yeah. What they're wearing, what they're carrying. If you're carrying a briefcase in Annapolis into a bar, you're likely from here, right? If you've got a backpack, my clothes are in this bag, although I live here, it would look like I don't live here, right? So do we treat people the same if they're from the neighborhood or if they're from, heaven forbid, somewhere like Kansas City? You treat people the same? You treat them the same? I wouldn't want to be treated the same. I want to be treated like where I'm from. I'm a tourist in town here. I want you to respect that and honor that and help add to that experience, right? If I'm in Annapolis and I'm from Los Angeles, like, you've got information that I might want to know. You might ask me a few questions about what I'm doing in town. Oh, you're a hospitality professional. Oh my God, so is Sarah down the bar here, right? There's things that we can do there. Then the third thing we ask is we say, what do you think their occasion is? Why do you think they're here? And they'd look at them there and say, I think they're just here for a drink after work. Or I think they're here to celebrate. Or I think they want to use the bathrooms, like they look like tourists wandering in, whatever it might be. So these 3 things we can kind of start to determine and start to condition people to look at, to adapt to what's going to happen. All right, what else did you guys see last night? What other opportunities or something that impressed you?
Too many employees on their telephone.
Too many employees on your telephone, right? Can you think of a better way to say to somebody that you are just not fucking important to me, right? I don't even know what's going to come up here, but I just know it's going to be more interesting than you, right? So, hey, be right with you, right? You might as well slap someone with a wet fish when they come in. I can't stand it. I tried to buy a coffee from these 2 twits at the cafe here this morning. I'm like, and when they did pay attention to me, I wish they didn't. They were so miserable. Yeah, so that's presence, right? Like, are you positioned when someone walks in and walks up to you? If I'm a host, we'd say to our host team, like, we have a functional piece of furniture here that's a necessary evil a lot of times, but when we don't need to use it, let's not. There's a big difference if Abhi comes in and I'm talking to him across from here versus I come out, I close the space between us, and I'm talking to him. And maybe if it's appropriate, I say, hey, welcome.
Am I allowed to touch you?
No, you're not allowed to touch me. Read the restraining order. That first impression, I know when I walk into a place, like, I can tell by just looking at the staff, is this going to be an amazing time or not? And yeah, you're right. Sometimes they warm up over time. I just don't think that's a good business model. I don't. You have people that had, even in this little town, had 25 choices last night where to spend their time and money. As a business owner and as a business leader, I always thought, what a fucking honor that these people chose us. Like, let's make sure they feel that they made the right choice. And if I can't field the team that can make people feel that way, what the fuck is wrong with me? Right? One more. What else did you see last night?
It's weird. I feel like you don't get the discount for the first 25 minutes of shit.
Right.
And I feel like shit. We didn't get the good experience until half hour in. We paid full price the whole time, but we didn't get full experience the whole time.
Right. Yeah. Well, one of the best GMs, and I know, 60% of what I know from the mentors in my life. I know 40% of what I know from the people I work with, right? From barbacks to bar managers to GM that work for me. We had our playbooks, but they shifted peak hours and off-peak hours. So one of the things he would do with peak hours, if a group, this size, very rare that a group our size walked in off the street last night, but say a group of 4 people or 6 people walked in. One of the questions that his entire team, our entire team, would ask is they would identify who the leader of the group is. How do you know who the leader of the group is last night? And then there could be several, but how do you know who's the alpha dog here, who's in charge? How would a 19-year-old be taught who to look for? Yeah, if you stand at the back of the room and watch any group, you can pick out who the leader is right away. It's a person, heads on a swivel, they're looking around, this guy's here, getting the bartender all set, right? So we look at that alpha dog, and Michael, at some point early on, would walk up and say, hey, I'm glad you're here, you get the drinks flowing, everything's happening. And he would go to that person, he said, is there one thing I could do to make this night more memorable? And they would say, the shit people would say, low cost, no cost, high impact. Say the music on last night, and they said, the song that I love is X. Or do you have this in the back? Or, just little things. No one ever asked for something insane. And if they do, they're willing to pay for it. And if you got it, why not sell it? So it's these little programming, but it's starting with the end in mind. And with our teams, we said, an individual walks in on his own, doesn't know anyone in town. He just wants a bite to eat and everything else. Or a table of 6 comes in. Or a table of 20 of us walk in last night. Our goal was, could we engineer an experience that this group or that individual will talk about in 90 days from now? They will tell someone about what happened tonight. They will particularly tell someone about one thing that happened, and it might lead to a story about us, but 5, 6, 8 things have to happen over the course of that visit in order for it to click and go, this is different, this is special. So here, I have no affiliation with any business we went to last night, which is why I don't mind punishing them here in the next couple of minutes. I can tell you these things for certain based on my experience. None of those businesses are in the pursuit of excellence. None of them start every shift with, this is our night, we're going to fucking do something. Every person that walks through the door. I did a contract in Australia, my first national contract, and we were teaching these sort of strategies across the country. And one of Diageo's geniuses opened up for us, and he said, yeah, we're going to show you a few things here. He said, we're very Australian saying, he said, we're not saving lives, we're selling piss, and which is slang for alcohol. And someone in the room, a bar owner in Australia, said, 7 years ago, a bartender saved my life. Came into a bar, I just felt useless. I was ready to go. And he said, this guy saw me, and he talked to me, and he said something to me, and I went home, and I 1% better, and I got back on track, right? So being in pursuit of excellence and just knowing that you can make a 1% difference in someone's life that night, and maybe you can make them the hero in the story that they're telling at a dinner party in 90 days, right? Secondly, there was no program design last night. There was no conformity across that group, right? I would like to think with my bars and restaurants that you would go in and think that everything's very authentic and cool and organic. It wasn't. It just wasn't, right? Like we had a plan, and then we let people show up inside of that. Like we wanted you to be yourself. We wanted you to show your best self, right? Not tell you don't like people that wear hats. We want you to show your best self inside of the schematic here, right? Just like in sports. You have a play, then you have players that are just fucking gifted, and that's what the fans love to watch. I also believe that there is no induction program with these businesses in pursuit of this, right? The feeling of hospitality. You can engineer it, you can generate it. Extremely poor standards at some of these businesses, like the way the tables, but specifically on hospitality, there's not a person that I saw last night that I would have wanted to poach and come and work for me. And it's not their fault. They're just working in a shit system. There's some spelling mistakes there. I know for certain there's no external monitoring. There's no mystery shopper program that's measuring their hospitality. Otherwise, everyone would be fired. All those places would have been closed last night. And then there's no consequence. The only consequence, the market will punish all of these businesses with low to no profits, and they'll become a statistic over time. It's sad, but it's true. If you're in the hospitality industry, you better get fucking good at hospitality. You got to realize there is a system for hospitality, just like there's a system for recipes and making fish and chips or whatever it is that you make. If you don't have a system and you're not leaning into that now, you're not taking this opportunity over the next couple months to build it, you're just missing out. It's without a doubt the lowest cost, highest return thing is to buy places for $1 that no one could make work. And this is all I did. All I did. Very basic drink recipes, very basic food. This is all I did. And took businesses from 0 to 2 million to 3 million to 5 million to $7 million a year. I want to just reflect back on, that's me and Jack years ago. Jack, 8 years ago. Jack, after they won best bar in the world, and he wanted to get coached, because he was the first coaching client, actually went to his business and had a look. And I said, walk me through this. Show me your systems. Show me your documentation. Show me how you do things. Show me how you induct people. He goes, we don't have, like it's Sean and I. We just do these things that you're talking about. And I'm here like every minute the bar's open, and Sean's here all day long. And that's how we run our business. And I said, wow, how's that going? He goes, not very good. I said, we're at the breaking point. We're fucking exhausted. We don't have a life. It's just not going very well. And he said, now I feel the pressure. We won this award and people are coming in here. And he goes, I'm embarrassed because now I won't leave this place because I fear what's going to happen if I'm not here. It's what happens when you don't have any systems. You are the system, right? The more valuable you are to your business, the less valuable your business is. So his business just wasn't particularly valuable. There were a couple questions yesterday about, what are these businesses worth? Anyone know who this is? Very successful guy in our industry. Howard Schultz from Starbucks. Howard Schultz, Jack called me a few years ago and said, are you going to be in New York anytime in the next couple of weeks? And I said, well, I could be. Why? He goes, Howard Schultz been trying to get a meeting with us and I don't want to do it. So he said he's going to be in New York and he wants to come by and see us. And I said, well, what's he want? He said he wants to put alcohol in Starbucks stores, like wine and beer and so forth. And he wants us to do it. Wants us to do a few cocktails as well and run this beverage program. He loves what we're doing. And anyways, the timing didn't work. I couldn't be there at the same time he was there. So Jack and Sean had the meeting. And long story short, Jack declined to, it was a lot of money, a lot. And Jack declined to do it because he said, I wouldn't order a pint when I'm buying running shoes. Right? He said, I wouldn't order a beer in a coffee store. I would go to a pub if I wanted a beer and that atmosphere. And he goes, I wouldn't want to go to Starbucks and order a coffee and have 4 dudes making a lot of noise drinking beer. So he said, I don't want to do you find somebody else. If you guys know, he went and found someone else. It totally failed because customers said, I don't want drunk guys while I'm buying coffee and I don't want to buy. So anyhow, I only tell this story to say that Howard Schultz is not used to having anyone tell him no or that he's wrong. And he said, I got to see what you're doing. Like, how does this all work? And by this point, Jack had done everything we've talked about. He's put all the systems in place. So Howard came back to Dead Rabbit on Water Street, 33 Water Street in New York, and had a look at the systems in his business. And he said, I'm going to take this to every city in North America, and then we're going to go around the world with this. I'll fund it. We'll get going. A lot of reasons why with his team and Jack's team that they decided not to work together. Since then, Jack has had offers from 14 major investment institutions to take the Dead Rabbit brand. People think we need more great bars that are accessible like Dead Rabbit, and I happen to agree. I'm obviously partial to Jack. I like him. I've worked with him for a long time, but I like his product. I like the feeling, and I like, and I would say this even if he's in the room, I like Dead Rabbit better when Jack's not there. Right when Jack's there, there's always a little bit of healthy tension when the owner's in the room. Dead Rabbit feels better to me when he's not there. And there isn't a lot more for him to do at Water Street, which is why he's doing these other things. And he also is going to leave in 3 months or 3 years because it's time to go. The way that I look at all this is that I always get asked, if you were to do it all again, what would you do? I said, I just have 3 captains. I'd take a minimal investment if I needed it. If I was to do a pub in this town or in your city, I would hire Mark Moretti. He's a friend of ours. We did a contract. Jack's got him, and he's going to come in, do the food. He's like how would you describe him? Like a TV personality in Ireland. Great guy. I've worked with him for about 13 or 14 years on the Diageo projects. He's like, who are the TV chefs? I don't even watch. Who are the famous people on TV that? Yeah, he's like a nice Gordon Ramsay. Let's say that. Mark's really nice. He's as talented as Gordon Ramsay, just nice. So I'd hire Mark, and Mark would come in. I'd say to Mark, hey, here's the market. Here's what people are serving. Here's what's working. Here's what's not working. I want to do that at the highest level, this price point. I want to make it entirely systemized. It's got to be simple for people to do. And I want to stretch it 20%. I want to bring a couple of new things in, but nothing crazy. And I would hire him to do that. He'd come in and train my team. We'd shoot all the videos. We'd have Mr. Shoppers come in and test the food, and Mark would come back every quarter. And if we needed him, he'd be on Zoom to help us out. I do the same with Naren Young, although he's a pain in my ass. He's one of the best in the business at the blend of creative and financial for cocktails. This guy has got over the ego of the bartender. He's become an owner. He knows this makes money, this doesn't. He knows that you are way better off with 8 killer cocktails than 28 mediocre cocktails, or heaven forbid, 48 shithouse cocktails. So I just put these two dudes on an annual contract. And then right now, to my knowledge, there's only 2 operators in the world that I would hire to come in to actually run my business. Steve Barrett is one, and oddly, he's now going to work for Jack. And Julie Clarkson's over in the UK. And these are people that can implement and run a hospitality system, as well as Naren can do beverage, and as well as. So if I have these 3 captains, I have goals and standards, I have a measurement program. I don't want to say I can't fail, but I never have. And I don't want to say I can't be beat, but it'd be really fucking tough to beat me. It'd be really tough. And I would just focus like a laser on the 50 people that work in that building. And I'd get them to a level that everyone in town would want to poach my staff. But I'd hire them all outside the industry, ideally with some retail experience. The hustler at Home Depot, you know, there was a woman that I would have hired, actually, when I went and gave blood the other day. She was fucking awesome. I said, have you ever worked in hospitality? And she said, oh, I don't like nights. I said, there's places you can work during the day. That sort of thing. If I did that, what's it worth? Before I hand over to the guys here, I always get asked, like, what are these businesses worth? Most hospitality businesses are worth less than 0. It breaks my heart. I've seen it literally a couple thousand times. People think they've got something. You know, I made money 2 years ago, or I made a little bit of money last year, but you have all these leases and liability, and they're not worth anything. And any business is only worth what someone's willing to pay for it. So the way that you look at that, and this is very simple. There's a lot of factors. There's 14 key factors. If anyone wants to know one day, I'll walk you through it. There's 14 key factors when you sell your bar or restaurant. But basically, it comes down to earnings before interest and taxes and your current conditions. You could have pretty high earnings, but your lease sucks. Or your lease is ending, and your landlord's going to fucking jack up the next guy in 18 months and count it, right? Your current conditions can absolutely sink you. And the EBITDA, you know, if you look at a good business, you know, it's just, I'll show you the numbers here in a second. So this is a different bracket. This is a 1% club. This is a club that Jack's in, and Jack's at the top of the 1% club. He's in the maybe like top 15% of the 1% club. You have what's referred to as enterprise value. So yeah, does it matter what you're making? Yeah, that's part of the enterprise value. That shows what your widget is able to produce in its current condition. And then what they're looking at is the market saturation study, right? How many of these, so people that are buying from the 1% group are going, okay, I want what you have, I'm going to take what you have. The more people that are attached to it, that are needed here, the less valuable it is, right? That's why Jack's leaving. He's proving that at some point, an owner continues to be an asset to the business, an increasing asset, or a detriment to the business, right? And if you don't know which one you are, you're probably the detriment. I became a detriment to my business. My ego didn't allow me to admit that until it's too late. But the market saturation side, saying, okay, if I took your widget, added my team to it, right? So this is a totally different art. Jack told you yesterday, I'm not an expansion guy. He hates expansion. I was with him. Ali and I went out to Austin with him. Fucking hates it. He's a detail guy. He's a people guy. He's fretting. He's picking up a piece of popcorn over in the corner. He's not that guy, right? And he's also not a guy particularly curious about, you know, Texan culture. He doesn't dislike people from Texas, but he likes Irish culture. So he's out there now. He has to learn all this shit that he doesn't want to learn. And he goes, okay. And I said, do you think this is for you? And he said, no. It's part of the discovery that I'm on the wrong path. But we look at what you got, what I can do with my team, because the team that'll buy from them is just an expansion machine. That's all they do. This isn't personal to them. They are just fucking good at popping up stores and holding standards. Combined with how many stores could we put in, right? You can't put 1,000 dead rabbits in America. So the question is, well, how many can you put in? What's feasible? So on the enterprise value and EBITDA, this is standard. You know, you're getting 15 to 25 times. It's not bad. But you can also pull 500 to 5 million per white study location. Right? So if there's 5 of those that you could pop up, cool. If there's 50, awesome. And you start to add up the numbers. This is just one cut at it, and we've looked at a bunch. I've been helping Jack and the guys through this. But, you know, the possibility for North America, I think this just says USA, but it's actually North America, because there'd be 6 or 8 in Canada, it'd be 115 dead rabbits in 2 different modes. And he haven't told you guys what the nickname is, the baby rabbit and the dead rabbit. Baby rabbit's a smaller version, not quite half, but 60% size footprint. 1 level, split room, it's like Austin is now. We tested it out there. So you go back and you look at those numbers and say, man, that's some fucking money that thing would be worth, right? And that's what they're going to do. So they'll do that with dead rabbit. Irish Exit's even bigger. Irish Exit's a more valuable brand, will be a more valuable brand than dead rabbit. Irish Exit, no food. Just fucking booze. Lots of Guinness. Almost no rent, and in some cases, no rent. Wouldn't it be nice to have no rent? Why would he have no rent? What's that? No. Monaghan train station, New York City. Numbers have gone up because dead rabbit or Irish Exit's in there. If you can take a train and get out here or here, who told me yesterday to stop there? I know my tenant did. People are like, I'm going to Monaghan now because I have my pint of Guinness and I get on the train. Meet a buddy there. It's so fucking cool. Such a great place. So that's how it works, guys. And it all comes from these very simple playbooks. We put in this afternoon, we're going to design your first one on a single page. The goal of your first playbook is, firstly, that it works. You can see it working on the floor. And that, secondly, when you get the multiplying effect, is your staff can teach other staff. That's it. That's why it's 1 page or 2 pages. It's got to be really simple. And, you know, if we look at last night, what happens when we first walk in? What happens in that middle section? What are the elevation points in there? How can we take this experience to the next level? And then how do we send people off? That's it. If people did that at the place we went to last night, fundamentally different experience. We probably wouldn't have got into that last place because there'd be too many people in there. You try walking that many people in a dead rabbit on a Monday night, you'd never get in. Monday night, never get in. Too many people. You have 4, you might not get in. It's full. Right? He packed Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Then we packed Sunday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. $15, $16 million in revenue. Little store. Next door, next door, next door. Make sense? Any questions on any of that? You want to be in this 1% group. And it is, I'm not saying it's free. It's going to take your time. You don't need a consultant. You don't need to spend a bunch of money. You don't need to buy new equipment. It's available to everyone. You just have to have the awareness to do it. And then you got to fucking get after it. You really need at least one person who is like almost unreasonable about how fucking elevated they want to take the experience, because no one's going to overperform that person. Everyone will fall a little bit short,